Pandemonium Reigns.
Volunteers travel down to Gainesville, Florida, compete in the Swamp, do not get their first win in the Swamp since 2003. It's at least going to be 22 years, with overall a very underwhelming performance from large in part the entire Volunteer squad. You have your few exceptions. Anywho, I'm Dan. He's Mike. Thanks for tuning in to Pandemonium Reigns, hanging out with us. Let's jump into Volunteer conversation. Told Mike going into this, if we lose this game, it's going to be bad. I'm going to be an emotional wreck. I was an emotional wreck going into this. By halftime, I had come to the conclusion of it and was just pretty much laughing at every situation, making all the jokes. However, I will say this. Man, I was right. I told y'all that at the end of the first quarter, I'll be able to tell you how this game is going to unfold. And if the first quarter was not indicative of pretty much the entire dang thing, outside of a few exceptions, I don't know what was. Overall, not good performance by the Vols.
Yeah, you are correct. It was the second quarter, of course, that doomed the Vols, but it was the first quarter, the last few minutes of the first quarter that set the tone for that to happen. It's got to be the worst called game of the Heupel era in that first half. I'm not real sure about the second half yet because
you're speaking offensive play calls, not officiating, correct?
Oh yeah. I'll get to that in a minute. I'll probably get to that last. Actually, is what I'd like to do. But yeah, it's got to be the worst play called game of the Heupel era. The second quarter was a joke. Really, everything from the first drive, where Tennessee marches down the field and looks like 2022, which is what I probably text you. I did text a couple other guys that there's 2022. You hit a shot down the sideline, you throw it in the end zone with ease. That's 2022. That's what that was. And then you forget how to have any composure. You forget how to block. You forget how to do anything. I mean, just garbage until the second half. You settle for 3 out of the gate to open the second half, and then other factors get involved that sure didn't help. You were already down too far to mess with anything like that. But yeah, that's got to be. I mean, I haven't been that mad since South Carolina. I was mad. 2021, I'm sure I was mad at more officiating than other factors, but I haven't been that mad in a long time. I think I told my dad 2020 Kentucky. There was moments in the 2021 season that were infuriating, but I haven't been that mad in a long time.
Yeah. No, that's fair. My issue with the whole thing is if it wasn't this year, when's it going to be? I mean, if Florida, I imagine that Florida's only going to go up from here, right? Whether it be Napier or somebody else. If it's somebody else, they'll cut Napier loose and they'll get somebody better in there, or Napier will figure out. I can't imagine it's going to get worse. That win sends them in the right trajectory. But overall, to me, this game came down to 3 plays, or 3 events, I should say. The first play being the how do I want to word this? The terrible effort on the part of Kamal Hadden to bring down Travis Etienne. So going into the game, it was. Everybody knew in order for Florida to win this game, they were going to have to run. And all you got to do is wrap up. Now, I'm not saying that they don't score that drive if he makes a tackle. That would be an ignorant and foolish thing to say. However, you continue to make them push down the field. I mean, you held them to a field goal earlier, in which a field goal that you were able to block. So you've got that, which not only put them in the end zone, sent their crowd into an uproar, right? That really sent their crowd into the game. The second event where we had the play last year known as Crescent Moon, and then Joe's like, bump that, watch me throw it over the moon in light of all this pressure. What were you thinking, dude? I just do not get this. I've tried to come to the conclusion that, yes, he was pressured. Yes, he did get hit a little bit while he was throwing. But just the trajectory of that ball just makes me think that you just sailed it up there and absolutely hoped for a prayer. But maybe I'll come to some kind of realistic resolution and say, okay, well, you couldn't help it. That's the trajectory of the ball after getting hit, whatever. Until then, I think you just threw that. The third event was in the second half, where when we decided to show up and start playing, but at this point it was too late. The deficit was too much to overcome. We're in the red zone, 4th and short. Referee bumps the ball. Ollie Lane resets it. Umpire sees that it's been reset by Ollie. He resets it himself. Florida gets a substitution of it. It gets all the momentum out of our sails. In my mind, you've got to kind of recalibrate there and maybe do something different. I mean, you're obviously trying to go fast. Anyway, 3 very impactful events. We gifted them 7 with Kamal. We gifted them 7 with Joe, and we kept 7 off the board potentially with that whole shifting literally of the ball. So,
yeah, I'll go ahead and get the officiating. Just that's the worst officiated game that I've seen Tennessee participate in since 2021 for sure. In which case you had the Pitt game to start the season. You had a travesty of a game at Alabama that was just a clown show. You get robbed in the Music City Bowl, you name it, and you've got the play where the ref kicks the ball. You've got the egregious crackback block by McCallum Castles that was so correctly called. And my God, throw him out. He doesn't need to be in the sport. Get him out. So egregious. Yeah. You've got numerous holds of really Tyler Barron's the one I'm seeing being held. And then you've got Heaton breaking open long with his jersey separated from his body. Whatever. It's not why Tennessee lost, but it sure wouldn't. They sure weren't going to have a comeback. I mean, seriously, they weren't going to allow Tennessee to keep going. I mean, I'm sorry. You can't how is Florida rewarded for the ref kicking the ball?
Oh, sure.
Just give me a break. Give me a break.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. Change the stuff when they get a sub and they get to go heavy. Change something. You don't want to take a timeout because you've already taken 2 in your opening drive. You've already done that. Which credit to Hopple. I think that drive resulted in 3 points, whatever. But again, you got to do something different. And I think it should have just been, I mean, honestly, just official timeout. If that crap happens, that's a joke. But yeah, Kamal Hadden, just go with the true freshman. I don't care at this point. The pass defense, yeah, and they did. The pass defense cannot be worse than 2022. Get a true freshman ready because you signed 30 of them at that position. Go get one ready. I'm so done with Kamal Hadden. I'm sorry. I really am. If it's not him getting roasted and then making a tackle and celebrating it, it's him, the skinniest guy on the defense, dropping a shoulder on a running back in open field. You're the last resort for stopping a touchdown,
in which you don't have the angle on. You don't even have the angle for that.
Put your arms
your
around
hip
his
to
waist and fall.
Yes, bring him down. Yes, now I'm with you.
It's so much easier than that. I'm so done with the Kamal Hadden era.
The listeners will tell you. Sorry, Michael. You can confirm for the listeners. I'm pretty conservative, and I usually don't just go straight out on people. It takes a while for me to do that. Like I rode Butch Jones and right into 2017. I'm out on Kamal Hadden.
Yeah,
I mean you can't do that. He is way too emotionally loose. I think he's your best cover corner. And that's bad because he doesn't, everybody knows this. He doesn't do things like getting his head around. I think you make a great point. How much worse can it be? My only argument to that is if you continue, we don't have the offense last year that we had to make up for the defense, right? We were going to put up points. That's not going to be the case going forward. But I'm with you, man. I'm out on Kamal Hadden, and I'm not, as we transition this, I'm not necessarily out on Joe, but I'm not happy with him, and I don't think he has it. I think Joe's ceiling is an 8-4. I really, really do. I don't care how much talent you have. I'm so tired of hearing about the arm talent and the oranges and all that stuff. He obviously, in my mind, does not have it between the ears, and I say that because he does dumb things like throwing it up in the air for anybody to possibly get it, running out of the bounds on the last play of the game, Ole Miss. I mean, this is just kind of the stuff he does. Now, we saw it We saw the best part of him, Vanderbilt, Clemson, but we have a better image of who Clemson is. Okay, so, and for the people that are calling for Nico, you need to stop. I mean, you're under the assumption that this is a video game and that it's just plug and play and that it's all based on talent. He just might not know enough. He might not know enough. So let's not do that. It's still got to be Joe going forward, but Joe he's going to have to prove it and make it up to this fan base because he has lost a ton of them from Saturday night.
Sure. I'll say this. He's down the list for me of blame. He's down below the offensive line in the first half. He's down below the play calling in the first half. Kamal Hadden sits at the top of the very top of the list. He's down the list, but he contributed to that loss for sure. But I mean, outside of the pick last night, and he did throw one in the ground on a third down with, I think, Ramel Keaton breaking inside. I don't really know who it was, but I mean, again, he's not Hendon Hooker. He's never going to be, but he's down the list of blame to me for me. I think what you do, and you stop waiting until you're up in the garbage time amount that you were up last year when Joe would get in games. You start getting up by 2 touchdowns or three scores in the fourth quarter, roll Nico out. I don't think there's going to be a redshirt situation if he's as good as advertised, or if he's like 75-80% of advertised. He's not going to be here for 4 or 5 years, so there's not really a point of worrying about a red shirt. You need to capitalize on the time that you do have him, which best case for Tennessee, best case for Nico, he starts next year. He starts the year after that. He goes top 10 in the NFL draft. That's your best case. So start prepping for it. I want to see more of these receivers because they had a better game in Gainesville, which is not saying much because that's after the Austin Peay debacle.
Right.
They had a better game down there. Brew McCoy is a dog, and I don't want to eat into his playing time, but I do want to work in Nico's primary targets for 2024 and going forward. That's what I want to do. I'm sorry. I mean, once you get any breathing room, get him in, run the offense, give me some of these young offensive line because we're going to lose some of those guys going forward, some of which might not be the worst thing. I'm sorry, but I don't know what to make of it. I'm not happy with Heupel for talking like Cooper was going to play for everyone on earth, talking like Cooper was going to play. Maybe there's something with Cooper that we're not sure about, but I'm not happy about anybody talking like he's going to play. I don't know that he makes a big difference when you look at the rest of the offensive line last night. I know he's as good as they get for us. He's right there for competing to be our best offensive lineman. But if everyone else is a turnstile on a play, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sounds like you're out on 23 season.
I'm not. I'm really not. Here's the thing. It's so open this year. It wasn't this open last year. It certainly wasn't this open the year before that.
You're talking about the conference.
I'm talking about I'm talking about the game. Oh. I mean, Ohio State's got issues. Michigan beat Ball State 31-6. I mean, the Big Ten's got issues. The ACC is not got Clemson. It's got FSU. I don't know that FSU is peak Clemson level. You've got Texas on the resurge, but they were down 7-3 to Wyoming at halftime. The game has got issues this year. The door is creaked open. But Tennessee refuses to put Florida underneath them. They won't even do that. So I'm not out on this team. And I don't know if in my lifetime I'll ever see Tennessee win in the swamp. But I'll say again. But I'm not out on the team. But there are so many issues to figure out, and I don't understand it.
No, I'm with you. I was the one who said if you lose this game, the season's a disappointment.
I'm fine with that.
Those are my words. So
I'm fine with that.
I do think there's things that can be done to salvage it. So anyway, I wanted to touch on just for a second. We got away from it a little bit. I wanted to talk about the officiating, and I really just wanted to say, and you said it as well, the calls were egregious, however you say that word, atrocious, but it's not the reason we lost. It's not the reason we lost. I mean, it sure did hinder a comeback, but even the comeback efforts were not your greatest effort. So I'm not real sure. On the topic of Heupel, I don't know what I think about your statement with not the greatest called offensively. I would have to go back and watch that. I was disappointed with Heupel at the end of the game with the way it just all unfolded and the little boxing match that took place between Kamal Hadden and one of their one of their big guys. I am encouraged by the fact that it looks like at midfield, Heupel apologized to Napier for how things shook down. I'm not sure if he apologized for the timeout because that was sure petty. But anyway, I just wanted to touch base on that. I also want to touch on the defensive side of things because everybody's commenting about how bad the defense was. My question to you is, if that's your thought, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? The only thing that I could really say to the defensive side of things is there was a couple times where I saw Pierce not with his hand in the dirt down on the line of scrimmage out towards the second receiver, towards his side. So maybe 2 to 3 yards off the ball, splitting the difference between the tackle and some kind of slot receiver. I don't really know what the objective was there. Nor do I know why we weren't motioning with, whoever was crossing the formation. I guess the approach was just keep everything in front of you. But my mind, press the heck out of them. If they score, they score. Can they keep doing it? I don't know why that plays right into their hands. But nonetheless, I'm not displeased with the defense altogether. People are so upset with them third, fourth quarter. At that point, what do you want them to do? They've been on the field for forever. They saw so many dang snaps. They saw a season worth of snaps in really a half. Like, what do you want them to do outside of the things like had not wrapping up and stuff like that? I mean, I don't know. It's just disappointing all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll say it again because I said this probably last week. This team, rightfully so, all the players and your leaders are talking about the first objective to do anything of great substance is to win the East. And this is like 4 staffs in a row that just refuses to put Florida behind you when they're down.
Yeah. No. This was the chance, man. This was the chance to get on top of Florida, to build a streak. And you didn't do it. And maybe you needed to tell the players about, hey, this hasn't been done in 20 years. Why don't y'all fix that? Instead of not talking about it. That doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what the reason was. But that's a few weeks now of kind of coming out flat and almost not ready to play. And, I was encouraged by the players meeting, but I didn't see any evidence of it in the first quarter.
Well, I mean,
and it really just comes down to effort.
No, I disagree because again, you hold them to a field goal when they get the ball first. They miss it, you block it. Omari was playing hard. You go right down the field. You do let them right back in it, and then it's like, well, we're beat. You're still winning 7-6, but
That's
it's
fair.
like, oh, we're beat. Let's quit. So I disagree with that.
That's
but
fair.
What I just can't get is why you're not calling the same plays from that first drive. All the freaking motions that we do with Jalen Wright, I didn't understand it. I mean, He's been fantastic. He looks improved. And there were just, to me, not nearly enough attempts to get him going, other than swing passes and horizontal nonsense, which he still made some plays with.
Yeah,
again,
he did.
You go away from what got you down the field to start the game and got you on the board. Joe was accurate on the play down the left sideline to Squirrel. He's about to get hit as he throws it sidearm and he drops it in. And then Ramel Keaton, the move that he put on that cornerback was delectable, and Joe put it out there for him and he brought it down. And then you just go away from that. And that's what I have an issue with.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, nonetheless, effort top to bottom. I mean, again, are you gonna disagree with this? You waited too long to start showing up. You had a great drive, right? But overall, and this is not everybody. Like, I'm not lumping Aaron Beasley into this. I'm not lumping Brew McCoy into this. I'm not lumping, who's another name? Not even necessarily like a Jalen Wright into this.
Yeah.
But you waited basically until the third quarter after that first drive to compete.
I mean, I think you're correct. There was some minor signs of life defensively, but I think there were too many dam breaking moments, so to speak, defensively, where Graham Mertz shakes you out of your shoes, and you've got you allow a receiver to post up on the sideline, wait for the ball. Yeah, that he delivered it right over Warren or Haddon's hands. There's just too many damn breaking moments like that.
Yeah.
And I know that takes a toll. But, I mean, I do agree. The play calling just vanished until that first drive of the second half to me. And I'm sorry, I just don't get it. Now, I think Squirrel had some space on the interception, but Joe's got to take off, or he's got to take a sack, or throw it away. Anything but the option that we got.
Well, on the interception, you gotta run a guy running either a crosser or something that's way more open than, I guess, Squirrel downfield. I get so frustrated with that play because in my mind it's like Joe's just trying to hit the big play, right? Because he can outthrow everything. Anyway, that just irritates the fire out of me. You mentioned something that I wanted to touch on, and Florida. Just through the perspective of Florida, like they played lights out. I mean, some of the catches that they made, with keeping their toes in bound, and Mertz wasn't bad. I mean, I thought he had a great night. Their game plan was executed so well until he hurt both of his hands, right? Or hurt his throwing hand, whichever one it was, and they just got away from it and continued to put the ball on the ground, which was what was allowing a comeback. But first half, Florida, I thought, played exceptionally well, especially on the offensive side with their skill players.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not like outright trash talking them necessarily, but they're not going to go far with an offense like that. I mean, you would have to what they would have to do is be Georgia or Alabama to go very far with an offense like that.
I hear you.
You'll beat Tennessee when Tennessee plays like that. You'll probably, you'll give Kentucky all they want. You're going to give South Carolina problems because you killed them last year. I mean, those things are going to happen, but you're just not going far with an offense like that. So it's really disappointing that Tennessee's defense was so bad, really in the intermediate to short game and against the run, which had been a strength, has been a strength going back some time. Yeah. So that's really disappointing. And again, I just don't think you're going far with an offense like that. In fact, I'd love to see their offense without Pearsall, really, which all he was eye candy. But, they try to go to the freshman or the sophomore Wilson 11 times on the first drive. He gets hurt mysteriously, and then they got better.
Yeah.
And we got worse, really, is more accurate.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at them from a season perspective, which I mean, I hear you and I don't disagree, but for what was needed that night, they played so well. Yeah, they played so well. They obviously really, really wanted it. And I'm not sure if it's just because, they lost to Knoxville last year and Gators don't lose to us or whatever. I don't know. But I thought, you know what? Of course they're making these catches. Of course he's making these throws. I mean, just of course they are. This is just how this crap goes. This is how this series goes. This is what happens. So,
yeah, yep. So, 22 years maybe. No, 22 years it'll be. Might be 24.
Maybe. I look forward to the future. I'm not out on Heupel. I look forward to our time with Nico. I'm interested to see how Heupel is going to manage that going forward. My money is that he rides Joe into the dirt, is my guess. I would love to see Nico. I'd love to see a ton of Nico come Saturday hosting UTSA. That's a great opportunity to do that. Because even with Frank Harris, quarterback UTSA, I still like our odds to beat those guys. So I'm not saying bench Joe or anything like that, but I like a heavier dose of Nico. I'd like to, start looking forward to things.
Yeah, and it may feel especially like Heupel's riding Joe into the ground if Nico's not ready. If
and that's
a big part of it.
No, you're right, and that's the thing the fan base is going to have to come to terms with. What that means is if you can't, you don't get to say things like I have so much trust in Heupel, but my gosh, you need to be starting Nico. If there's anybody who can prepare a quarterback, I'm going to trust that it's Josh Heupel amongst other guys like Lincoln Riley and others. I'm going to put him in that category. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm going to place him. So if he doesn't play, I've got to believe it's because Nico's just not ready, or he doesn't know enough of the playbook, or he's simply put, he doesn't give them the best chance to win. And I just think that's what it boils down to.
Sure.
He's not going to give us the best chance to win right now.
Well, we'll see when we see him, I guess, because I'm with you pretty much.
For sure. Any other thoughts from Saturday?
I got nothing. Just disappointment.
Are you in an angry state of being? Or are you in a sad state of being? Depressed? Where are you at?
Let's see. Go into your preferred GIF getter, wherever you send your gifts from. Michael Scott, I'm dead inside.
Did not know where you were going with that. That's funny. Yeah. Mine's Michael Scott for me. No. Kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding. I search figures, and that's I imagine that's whatever GIF I am. Just figures, man. Just figures. So anyway, nonetheless, volunteers travel to Gainesville. Do not get it done. So much to correct. Let us see a change of pace on the defensive side of things with, some of this young talent. Kamal Hadden, less snaps. We know what we're going to get with Kamal Hadden. We know what we're going to get with Kamal Hadden. We know what we're going to get with Kamal Hadden. Let's see some other guys. And it also, in my mind, I know that he defended himself on social media saying that he's not the one who started that he was just over there to protect his team. But there's now an image about there with your hands up, like you're in a boxing ring with one of their linemen. So
yeah. He initially went to got between Omari and the Gator, and then that's when it escalated to what you just described. But I mean, it's just a perfect thing of last night. Let's let Mertz dance around and run the clock out and not put him down. Omari like was dead set on barely touching him. He pulled up great, even at his huge size. So whatever, just forget that place. I hope the stadium collapses today or whenever people are out of it.
Let me say this, and then we'll end it unless you got something else. I think if you just give an effort top to bottom, I think you come out on a winning side of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just come out on a winning side of that, regardless of play calls, regardless of officiating. Sometimes that stuff is not going to go your way. That's adversity. That's life. You have to power through it. You have to overcome it. I mean, these are the things that they talk about in high school. You got to overcome it. So do better, right?
Yep.
Do better. All right.
That's it.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We're trending. We're growing. It's all because of you guys. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. Make sure you tell your friends. You're dead on the inside. We're dead on the inside. This is Pandemonium Reigns. God bless. Go Vols.
PBO.
Pandemonium Reigns.